Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is John Nieuwenburg. Hi, John.
Hi, Adi. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you. And we're going to have a conversation today about systems, which is going to be very exciting.
I hope so.
Yes, absolutely. All right, John. So here is your bio. So you are a seasoned business coach and a founder of W5 Coaching. You help owners of trades and small professional firms move from chaos to freedom by building systems around time, team, and money.
Correct.
And your structured approach and the 5 steps to freedom framework have helped hundreds of business owners lead with clarity and reclaim their lives.
Yes.
That is fantastic. Okay, well, let's talk about the 5 steps to freedom approach.
Sure.
So tell us about the 5. What are the 5? First of all, let's start with what are the 5 steps?
So it's a framework that helps a business owner and myself diagnose where they are on a trajectory. And each of the 5 steps comes with a complement of silver bullets that we use at each step to systematize the business and then help it grow. So the first one is usually pre-revenue. You're thinking about how you're going to go to market, what your positioning is going to be. You launch the business, and then there's a bit of a wobble as you're in kind of chaos, and you're thinking about your revenue plan and sales plan, and you're just trying to find your footing. At control, the business is starting to be profitable, and you're scaling for growth. At the next stage, the business is doing very well. The owner is very involved every day, and lots of owners like it that way, but others want to get to a place where they have time and money freedom. And what that means is they're free to spend their time as they wish and have the money to do that. And it could be because they want to sell the business, start a different business, or they want to spend every day on the beach. The point is they have a choice.
Absolutely. So when we talk about the 5 steps, so you have the first step is you start a business.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second one
is called disorder or chaos. And that's you've launched the business and now you're trying to find your footing, and you're establishing your marketing plan, your sales plan, your growth plan. Control level 3 is you're starting to scale for growth. The business is profitable. Prosperity, the business is doing very well. The owner's involved every day. And then number 5 is freedom.
Good. So freedom, that's what we want. I mean, you also look at our website, in terms of like we create the processes and procedures for companies because the owners want freedom. So obviously, Have you found that that's what entrepreneurs want is freedom?
In the longer view, yes, they do. They want freedom. But for many, when I start working with them, it's a dream. It's they can't imagine that it's possible. They're usually more caught up in their immediate day-to-day problems around time, team, or money. So they're saying things like, time, I've got too much to do, not enough time to do it. I can't get everything done. If I don't do it, it won't get done. Team problems is about recruiting, getting good people, getting people to do work at the level you need, and getting the culture you want. And then money has got one component of money is having proper financials and accounting and reporting and cash flow and statements. And the other side of money is I need more money. I need better sales and marketing. So
absolutely.
So, I'll tell you a story that's kind of relevant to the question you just asked me. When I first started as a coach 20 years ago, I had kind of an academic idea about coaching. And, the idea was a good one. What I thought was, well, when I start with a client, what I'm going to do is put together a strategic plan or a business plan, or what are we trying to do? What is it going to look like in a year's time or 2 years' time? And I was working with this particular owner for about a month, and he wasn't very engaged, and we weren't making very much progress. And I asked him, well, what's going on? How come you're not participating in this? And he looked me square in the face and he said, well, I don't know why we're doing this. I can't make payroll tomorrow. And that's when I realized I was a doofus, because he was right. The strategic plan at that point was irrelevant. It might as well, let's just fly to the moon or something, because that immediate pressing problem was the thing that occupied all of his energy. And so back to your question, yes, they want freedom, but in the beginning, they just want to solve a problem.
That's correct.
I
agree with you. But the overall long-term goal would be the freedom. And of course, you solve the roadblocks in order to get to that freedom.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you start, and it really depends on each stage. It's like you want, like, all those pressing problems have to be removed first in order to actually be able to look at the bigger picture.
That's correct. And so one of the most common places I start with a business owner is with this premise. There is 5 to 7 hours worth of work you're doing every week that you should not be doing.
Give me some examples. I like that. I agree with that. And I think that some owners are just wearing too many hats. And so give me some examples of the 5 to 7 hours or 8 hours that you find the most common with the business owners that you work with, that they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, so I'll give you a hack. It's a bit crude, but the hack is this. Tell me what's on your oh shit list. What's that? Tell me about the list of things you do every week that every time you go to think about doing it, payroll, receivables, payables, anything that causes you to say, oh, and you have that kind of feeling. Well, that's your clue. You should not be doing that work anymore. There's a way.
What if you go, okay, I don't want to talk to an irate customer. That's probably gives you the same reaction. But as an owner, in the beginning, when you don't have people to delegate to, what are you going to do?
Well, fair enough. And you're right. There's an order in which you would delegate these things. And the last of those things that you would delegate is sales, or the experience that your customers have with the business. That wouldn't be, I know it may be the thing that bothers you the most, or is unwelcome kind of conversation, but you're responsible for solving that until you can hire a team of people to do that first. But you're not even doing that today because you're doing a bunch of stuff you don't want to be doing. Or another practical answer to your question, Adi, is ask the business owner, what's your time worth? Now, for those of us who are professionals and we have a charge out rate, it's pretty easy to figure out. But all of us, as a business owner, your time's worth $100, $200 an hour. So why are you doing work that someone else will do for you better than you? Not as good, better than you, and they'll do it for $20 an hour. And if you free up 5 hours or have someone else do 5 hours worth of work, and that's $100 to you, and that gives you 5 hours to do something at $200 an hour, that's $1,000. That's a 10-to-1 ratio. Why wouldn't you do that? And if that meant you had more peace of mind or more equilibrium to take on customer complaints, well, that's a better use of your time.
That's right. Or maybe you will also be able to avoid and remove the customer complaints because things are going to move out smoother and better.
Yeah, so that's the point, is that if you're on the front line of customer complaints, you're going to be the one who's figuring out what do I need to solve in my business to prevent these complaints from happening. It's not that I want you to be taking complaints every day, but you're the one who can solve the problems that cause those complaints.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in your opinion, what is the importance of having good workable processes and procedures in place in order for the business to grow?
Because most business owners confuse delegation with abdication. So what they think is delegation is them simply abdicating any responsibility. Or what they'll often do is, I've asked my people to do work and they never do the work well. Or they'll have situations where I can't do anything without my phone pinging and dinging me because somebody's got a question for me. So what you want to do is think about this motto that systems run the business, people run your systems, and you lead your people. It's a very famous phrase. If you're depending on people to run your business, the business rises and falls on the quality of the people. If systems run the business, people can be taught to deliver that system, to deliver the process the system describes. So make your focus on SOPs, on checklists, on other forms of systems that then get reproducible. Let me tease you a little bit. How do they get those French fries to taste the same in your town or mine? The fries are made by a 16-year-old, and the parents of that 16-year-old can't get him or her to clean their bedroom. How do they do that? They have great systems. We have a recipe. We have a process. This is how we make those French fries. Now, some of you people on this call are going to say, well, I don't make French fries. You know, every job I do is unique. Or, you know, I was talking to someone who builds high-end cabinets for kitchens and high-end commercial jobs. I'm not making French fries. Of course they're not. But here's the thing that can be systematized. The process you use to produce that high-quality outcome, that process can be systematized. Yes, every product, every installation is different, unique to itself. But if you're making it up every single time, you can't have a business that's robust, systematized. That's the thing you can systematize is your process that allows you to deliver that product. Focus on that process and the outcome, the product then becomes predictable, robust, and up to the standards of quality you're looking for. Focus on getting a system.
That is absolutely true. I agree, because there can be, if you have a business that you're saying, well, I can't systematize something or I can't create a process, then something is really wrong, because then you can't replicate your success. That's basically what you're saying, is that every time I have to reinvent the wheel, and that is really not productive and not efficient.
Well, and that's why you're working 80 hours a week.
Right,
Because
exactly.
you have to be there all the time. We call those hub and spoke managers. They're the hub and the business is the rim, and nothing happens unless somebody asks him or her, the business owner, a question. And now they feel kind of henpecked and wonder why the business can't thrive without them.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And then you get into this rut of like, oh, well, the business needs me. So I'm in the business all the time. And it's hard to extract yourself because you think this is the only solution and this is the only way it's going to work.
Well, that's what got you here. And it took you as far as you have been able to strain the edges of that capability. To break through to the next level, you have to change the way in which you think about things.
That's exactly right.
Your current systems have gotten you to where you are, but they won't take you to the next level, and they won't solve the headaches that you have. Kind of a funny way to say that, if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always got.
That is very true.
For that, you replace yourself with systems.
Yes, amen. I agree. So you said you started doing coaching about 20 years ago. What were you doing before that?
I'm in Canada. I was the president of something called BC Liquor Stores. To give you a sense of scale, it does $3 billion in sales today, has 200 locations and 4,000 full-time equivalents. So, a big retail kind of enterprise. And I started business life at a national menswear retailer, sort of similar to Men's Warehouse, not the same, but think of that as a kind of a comparable, and started as a salesperson in a store. And over 17 years, kind of worked my way up the ladder. I was an executive in head office in Toronto. And after 5 years, I decided I didn't like Toronto very much. So I got myself headhunted. And that's how I joined the BC Liquor Stores and came back to the West Coast. So retail is it's a big business, but each store operates a little like an independent business, and a retail background is a great training ground for how to run a business, kind of similar to, restaurants is another customer-facing frontline kind of business that if you learn how to run a restaurant properly, McDonald's as an example of we talked about, it acts as a great foundation, great base to learn how to develop systems to make the business run.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, John, if our listeners would like to know more about you, where should they go?
So the name of the coaching practice is W5 Coaching. It's easy to find on the internet. It's john@w5coaching.com is the email address. And W5 has a bit of backstory. So I learned something called the Socratic method of leadership. So Socrates had it, the best way to help somebody is to help them figure it out for themselves. And of course, that's what coaching is. Not here to tell you what you have to do or need to do or should do, but I'll help you work out what's right for you to do. And of course, the way to do that is guiding that conversation through questions. And of course, there's 5 core questions. All start with a W: who, what, when, where, why. So
that's right.
That might be a way that listeners can remember W5 coaching.
Very good. So now that's the 5, and then you have also the 5 steps to freedom.
Correct. Well, that's just a happy coincidence.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that it fits. So that's good.
Sure. Yeah.
John, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast.
My pleasure.
And,
happy to
yeah.
be here. Thanks for the invitation.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.